You know, it's interesting when the more we find out, the more we realize how wrong the direction we're going. And so what we're going to do is take back our country. 2012 is the time that we're going to send Mr. Obama home to Kenya or wherever it is. We're going to do it.
Send him home to Kenya or wherever it is. That is now Congressman Mark Meadows of North Carolina, campaigning there in western North Carolina in the summer of 2012 in the district that used to be Heath Shuler's district. But it's now the most Republican district in that whole state, and it now belongs to Mark Meadows. Mark Meadows was elected this past November, sworn in January. By this summer, as a freshman congressman who'd never held public office before, benefiting from a bright red district drawn just for him, newbie Congressman Mark Meadows, who thinks President Obama is from Kenya, started circulating this letter demanding that Republican House Speaker John Boehner shut down the government. Mark Meadows' strategy in this document is the strategy that Republicans followed, that indeed got us the government shutdown we now have, which is in its seventh day. The Mark Meadows letter had a demand in it, and it was a demand that was not addressed to Democrats in the House or Democrats in the Senate or President Obama or anybody else who you think would be on the opposite side of a Mark Meadows demand letter. No, the demand was actually made to Republican House Speaker John Boehner. The letter essentially said, I, Mark Meadows, and the other Republican members of Congress who signed on to this letter with me demand that you, John Boehner, shut down the government. Make the funding of the federal government contingent on getting rid of health reform. And if President Obama does not agree to get rid of health reform, if he does not agree to that, then shut down the government. We demand that you follow this strategy. It is amazing to think that a brand new freshman member of Congress with no national profile, no additional position of power, no apparent influence at all beyond his seat, could get 80 members of Congress to sign on to a letter like that. What is more amazing is that conservative groups then started running targeted advertisements against 100 other Republicans who did not sign on to the Mark Meadows letter. It's impressive, right? This guy who nobody had ever heard of last year is punching really, really far above his weight.
You know, it's interesting when the more we find out, the more we realize how wrong the direction we're going. And so what we're going to do is take back our country. 2012 is the time that we're going to send Mr. Obama home to Kenya or wherever it is. We're going to do it.
Send him home to Kenya. Turns out that relatively random congressman, that send Obama back to Kenya guy, who nobody had ever heard of, is now an out-of-nowhere force in Congress who's apparently leading the shutdown strategy in the House.